Good evening. Today is the 31st of March. It is about 6:45 p.m. and this is a meeting of the Personnel Committee for the Troy City Council. Sitting in for Mrs. Snee, who is the chair of the committee. She is unable to attend this evening, and on my left is Councilman Samuel Pearson. I'm Bob Phillips. We're here to talk about a request to employ additional project manager for the city, and Mrs. Rhodes or Mr. Titterington, who's...
I can lead it off, and
Gotcha.
And Jill can jump in. So for I'd say at least 18 years, if not 20 years or more, we have managed the capital programs, infrastructure repair and rehab with a project manager as well as 3 engineering techs. Since that time, we've seen a significant amount of growth in not only one-off projects and the size and scope of those projects, but also in the scope of recurring projects as well, such as our annual road program, which has gone from $500,000 to about 3 times that, much of which is because of inflation, but it's become more complicated, and we've done some additional testing throughout the years that takes engineering tech time to do that more often. And we've added projects as well, and the projects have been getting more and more complicated. In the past, when we've had one-offs, when we've seen some spikes, we've been able to manage the project management workload by adding to the authorization for the construction contractors to include, or I'm sorry, not with the construction, but the design engineers, some construction management hours at an additional cost to the project, but it enabled them to monitor and cross-check the work that was being done, which made a lot of sense and still would theoretically, because after all, they're the ones that have designed the project in the first place. The reality is 2 things are happening. Number one, those engineers are extremely busy. Those engineering firms are busy. We've seen some mergers. We've seen we've seen it get very, very difficult for them to be able to identify and us to retain project managers employed by those engineering firms. The second thing is our overall long-range capital plan has gotten more voluminous. We've got more projects either in the pipeline or coming up in the future. I listed about 6 of them just off the top of our heads. Downtown Streetscapes, that's going to be a 2-year project. And I would say that, the West Main Street's a perfect example, the 2 phases of West Main Street. 2.5-year construction project. We've been able to employ outside project management through Prime. And, we're, knock on wood, hitting the tail end of that. We would like to think that we could take a deep breath. However, we do have the Downtown Streetscapes, which is going to be at least a 2-phase project between the utilities and the actual streetscapes. We have the water and sewer master planning processes, which is a 2-year process, plus how quickly we implement, where we implement those master plan recommendations. We have the West Main Street and Experiment Farm Road intersection reconstruction, whatever that is. If it's a roundabout or a classic reconstruction, it's going to be very involved, as it is one of our top 2 or 3 busiest intersections, if not number 1. We have the Adams Street roundabout that is coming up quickly. Will be hopefully done either over the summer or sometime this year, depending on coordination with the utilities as well as the construction bids that we get in. We have the new facilities for park maintenance. We have a police range project that we haven't brought to you, that is a partner, that would be a partnership with Martin Marietta. But that is a project that would involve project management by our staff. And in the next few years, regardless of what the final product ends up looking at, we've got the Low Dam, Crawford Street, Hurlinger Park, East End redevelopment. Again, whatever that looks like, it's going to be multifaceted and it's going to be probably multi-phased. Those are that's just a snapshot. I would remind you that earlier this year, right around the first of the year, I guess maybe in February, I meant to clarify this, I do this every other year, sent you the project list that we put together and we monitor. It's about 111 items, give or take, every year. And if you look back 5 years or so, it was in the 70s maybe. Now we're up over 3 figures as far as projects. Not all of them require a project manager by any means, but a lot of that growth is in the capital side. So we are recommending that we add a project manager. We had hoped to put this off for the 2026 budget, but with everything coming up this construction season, the urgency is a little more short-term than that. It is currently in the salary schedule at the grade 8, but looking at the job descriptions for grade 8, it does not account, we think, adequately for the level of supervision that the project manager position would have, namely supervising the engineering tech staff, as well as all of the projects that we listed, and then some that pop up from time to time, because we know that happens. We are recommending that project manager position be set at grade 9. We also recommend that funding of the position for the remainder of 2025 be split 4 ways between the water, sewer, and stormwater, as well as the general fund budgets.
And this is a permanent position?
This would be a permanent position, yes, a full-time permanent position.
Can you give me the range of grade 8 and grade 9 as a number?
I'm going to go by memory.
Okay.
I want to say it's between 85 and maybe maxes at 109, maybe 105, 109, somewhere in that range.
Is this person going to be supervising other staff?
Engineering techs.
Okay, got it. At this moment, that's all I have. Mr. Pierce.
You're proposing that we won't need project managers from outside sources then if we hire this one? Is that what I'm hearing?
We're anticipating that, yes. Now, sometimes staff is off on leave or we'll have a vacancy at the time, but it should be very limited, if at all.
All right. And in order for will this change the requirements of our current engineer to increase their certification, or can they remain where they are? Are we going to increase our cost there?
Not sure I understand. The engineering techs, you mean? You said engineer. She's already very, very highly qualified. The engineering techs would continue to do the work and follow the job description that they already have.
So Ms. Rhodes' certification could remain the same. She wouldn't have to increase it in order to manage this other engineer as well. Is that right?
It wouldn't necessarily be. The project manager wouldn't be necessarily an engineer.
Okay.
They would have construction management type experience. It could be an engineer. There aren't a lot of them out there, civil engineers out there, so we're not making that a requirement. But no, Ms. Rhodes is here. We're talking about her, and she's in the audience. She's already a civil engineer. It's the project manager and the qualities that we're looking for that individual would be construction management and that type of work.
Okay. That was my question.
Oh, but the question to Mrs. Rhodes, are you going to miss going out and walking along the dirt and the construction?
She still will. In her
I actually anticipate that it'll just make our workload a little bit more manageable. So I do appreciate this consideration because in addition, like a lot of what Patrick pointed out, we still have there's still a lot of commercial, industrial projects, even residential fencing, housings, all of that stuff, kind of ties in. Subdivisions is a real big push as well. So there's just a lot of workflow going through our office and annual programs that we didn't even mention. He mentioned paving, but we have sidewalk, things like that. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Any other council folks that may have a question on this item? Anybody else in the audience have a comment on a question on this item? Okay. Seeing none, how do you wish to proceed?
Move forward as staff's recommended.
We're going to
As
move
emergency.
forward with emergency as requested. Any other items to come before the excuse me, Personnel Committee?
No, sir.
All right. We are adjourned from that. We'll move right into, streets and sidewalks.